Hello, and welcome to the More Cheese, Less Whiskers.com podcast. My name is Dean Jackson, and today we're talking with Kelly Krueger. Kelly has a really cool new website that she's creating called ingeniousbaby.com. She's got a really great idea of helping parents of newborn to 3-year-olds to really maximize the development of the child in that critical period of time. We talked a lot about what are the outcomes that somebody could get if they went down the right path with their 0 to 3-year-old, and what's the worst outcome that could happen. So we talked a lot about establishing where we want to help somebody go, where the opportunity is, where the pitfalls are. But then as a new community, she was very curious in how we can monetize this or what model to use. So we explored some of the different models of how to build the foundation for this and who might be interested in sponsoring this or being part of having access to this community. So enjoy this episode. Kelly Krueger.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very excited. This is, I'm looking forward to hearing all about what you're up to.
Right.
So we are, we're recording right now. We got the whole hour to hatch some evil schemes for you. So it's a good thing if you could kind of tell me a little bit about the background, about what you're up to, and where you think we might be able to, focus on creating a breakthrough for us today.
Right. Yeah. So I started this website just very recently on ingeniousbaby.com, which is essentially a site where I'll host informational interviews for parents of 0 to 5, primarily 0 to 3. We could go up a little bit further. About how to maximize your child's potential, particularly in terms of raising their IQ. And the experts all over the world, I've had.
So, hey, Kelly, I'm going to stop you for just a second. You sound very sort of muffled or something. I don't know what.
Muffled. Okay. Shoot.
That sounds a little bit better right there, but.
Is this better now?
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
I couldn't find my earpiece this morning, so just talking regular.
Oh my goodness! Well, this is great. You sound like a whole different person.
Oh, good. Okay.
Okay, perfect. There we go.
Okay, good. So I started this website. It's called ingeniousbaby.com, and it's a site where I host informational interviews of parents 0 to 3, where you help maximize the baby's potential, because your child's brain is 90% developed by the time they're 4. And
I've read that on your site. That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, and so parents don't realize, they're like, oh, they're just a baby or it's just preschool, but these are such important years, and just kind of educating people about, what you do now will have an impact, when they're in 4th grade or whatnot, like they're learning, or if they're not moving correctly, they could cause learning disabilities when they're 4, in their 4th grade. So basically it's just kind of interviewing experts in a number of different areas to help maximize their potential and increase their IQ. And they all start when they're born. So, I've done about 10 to 15 interviews, but I'm trying to get the following first, which I'm working on that. I have a PR background I'm working on, which will take some time to get the audience built and so forth. But then once I get the following, my question is, how do I have a couple of ideas to monetize it. The best way you think would be to monetize?
Okay. So, here's the thing. What would be the best result that you could create for somebody that would be documented? So when you look at it, that part of the thing is how do we monetize? Always it always is a factor of how much result can we create, right? And what is the result that we can create that would be so valuable for people that they would be willing to pay for that, and determines how much they'd be willing to pay for it. So let's kind of look at it from a standpoint of what's the drive that is going to cause a parent or parents to pay money to give their child this outcome. And what is the best outcome that you could create? Like if we just set aside the money part of it and look at the actual outcome that we can create. I mean, it's all there. There's a lot of in the early childhood development stuff. It's kind of a moving sidewalk in a way that everybody's moving in that direction. Everybody wants the best for their child. Everybody wants to be the super parent, and they feel a lot of pressure to, not be the reason their kid gets screwed up, kind of thing. They don't want to get in the way or hold them back, right? There's a lot of that. There's all those both positive and negative emotions kind of at play there. And so there's a lot of hyperbole built into that and a lot of very non-specific, non-provable things that, can be shown to kind of give their kids every advantage. But if you're coming at it from a quantifiable, outcome-based position, what is that outcome that you could create for somebody? If knowing what and having exposure to what you have exposure to, if somebody were to place their infant child in your, I won't want to say care, but under your guidance for the next 3 years, what would be the outcome that you could create for that child compared to somebody who was not placed under your guidance?
Well, that's an interesting question because, sometimes these things you don't know until, years later. I think it's about educating them, the hard one, because it's really about the education information. I'm interviewing, PhDs and well-known doctors and so forth. So it's getting access to that information easily. But sometimes you don't know your IQ or whatnot until, a few years later that they're going to have some kind of problem because they didn't crawl, first.
So surely has there been any foundational research done to, to test these hypotheses? Because really when you're saying those things, you're saying it can add 20 points. Well, how do they know? How does that, you know what I mean?
Right.
What's documenting that? What's backing that up?
Well, the people so there's a lot of research based on it, but I feel like anyone could Google that research, you could do X, Y, and Z, and the people I'm talking to are all PhD. They do research themselves, for example, and publish many papers, and so they are actually the people who are doing the research, and then I'm interviewing them about the research. So I don't know. It's a hard one. That's why I don't know if I get a sponsorship for this only, or if there is because I was thinking these, the monthly box subscription, or it could be an informational product, or, based on the outcome of these interviews and their research and packaging it up for the person because they are doing the research. I don't know if that makes sense or if I'm...
Well, they are. But I sense even in the way we're describing it, right? We're kind of going back to what's the form and the function and the packaging of what we're going to monetize, as opposed to what's the result that we're going to create, And so I'm trying to initially, the first part of any marketing, monetizing is I call it the market -ing, is let's create the market for this. What is the exchange that's going to happen here, right? What is the outcome, the product, the service, or whatever it is that we're going to use to deliver that outcome, and then what is that worth to a parent, But it's all got to start with what's the advantage, If you were able to say that kids who follow this protocol have 20-point higher IQs than kids who don't follow this protocol. That
so it's, yeah, I mean, they all, for example, each person. That's why I need to have like because each person interview, for example, like the baby sign language person, there's a ton of research on baby sign language and how that can increase your IQ by 12 points. If you eat certain food, there's a lot of research on how that can increase your IQ because, and if you, talk to your baby, there's a lot of research. So all the interviews I talk about all have IQ, but they're all different methods. But if you combine them all together, you can have a package, but each person has they have research for each specific activity.
I get it. That's why I was wondering about the thing. I'm getting a clearer picture now that you're really a curator of these experts who all have different protocols. You're kind of highlighting all kinds of different things for the parents. Not that you've got one thing that you're trying to
there's not
create.
One thing. So I'm trying to bring. So all these people could be different places, and maybe the baby sign language. So each person will have. They all are related to IQ, but they're all different activities and things you can do, but they're all in one place. Does that make sense?
Okay. And so, what attracted you to this? Like, why you and why this?
Well, I'm a mom of two toddlers at the moment, and I had read a book which initially started this whole thing about how it's called Making of a Genius, and it's this man who many years ago, when his daughter was born, he's like, I'm going to make her a genius, and he basically, just very simple things. He just walking to the grocery store, just everyday activities was always a learning opportunity, and she ended up having an IQ of 200. I thought that was really fascinating.
Wow.
Because she's like one of the highest IQ people in the world. And even the people I'm interviewing now, like I interviewed the head of Mensa, and they said anyone in the world can have a Mensa level IQ if, you do certain things, or like, the way that you educate your child or feed them or whatnot. So I thought that was really fascinating. As a parent, you have so much, I think they said it's 50% is environment and 50% is genetic.
I was just going to ask you, how does it break down? Yeah, like how
about
much
50-50. 50-50.
Okay.
So what your environment is a huge impact on, your child's, like even just like, you think of those 10,000 hour experts, so the more you have exposure or, it could be, you're not like you're forcing your child to do something, but like just natural learning and giving them opportunities to learn. And you can significantly raise your child's IQ and potential and just by the things the parents are doing, and I think that was really fascinating. And so people they just dismiss this period in particular for learning. They're like, oh, we're going to get him into kindergarten, they're going to learn how to read. And it's really laying the foundation before that is what's really important to kind of communicating that. But like just even having the head of Mensa who I interviewed last week saying how anyone can have a Mensa level IQ. And he gave a couple of tips.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. So, okay, I buy into that. And then this, newborn to 3 years old, that's your target audience right now? Yeah,
and I feel like it could go up to 6, really, because I mean, like newborn to 3, I feel like, the brain, by 6 years old, as they really say, I was doing 0 to 3, but I could expand it a couple of years because, by 6 is kind of when people say it's,
it's too late.
Not too late, but those are the crucial years.
It's all done.
Not that I want to put fear into people, but it's an important time.
Yeah. So it really, it's kind of an interesting thing that this is, universally, this has always been the thing that parents are inherently kind of motivated to do, right? It's provide the best for their kids. And this modern thing now of, as we kind of evolve technologically as a society and stuff, that using technology and using things that are going to give kids an advantage, we want to kind of we have access to it, so we might as well use it, And so it's kind of an interesting thing that if you're going to be kind of a curator of this, that there almost feels like there has to be a overriding, like, the boundaries of this, like a curriculum-based type of, not a curriculum-based, but a principle-based type of thing, right? That you're looking for things that are, that have some commonalities, that fit in the same family, that are principle-based kind of thing, And if you, based on what you know so far, what would be sort of the categories that would be applicable, that you could affect?
So I have those on my website. So I have, nutrition is a big one, movement is a big one, reading, math, and music. Those are the areas that I've identified as the ways that you can maximize the potential in those categories. So I have the interviews are kind of broken out in those different categories, based on which thing they want to go to.
Okay, so you've got 5 basic things, and it'd be interesting to see how would you quantify, like, where somebody is on this scale. Like, if you were to say that at the end of the 3 years, at the first, the goal is to get to the end of the 3 years, and what would be the best outcome for these 5 things? Like nutrition, if we got to 3 years and we looked at it, that what would be the indication that you have failed as a parent shepherding them through those first 3 years, right? Like, what would be? And
well,
I mean, there are people?
Failed.
No, I'm saying that's an important part, though, right? Because it's either that we're talking about things that there's going to be there's going to be kind of the quantifiable things, and there's also qualitative things, right? And when you look at it, that if we think about nutrition, like if we were creating a scorecard for your child, that at that 3-year mark, and I say that, what would be, because I'm sure there are situations where somebody has failed at that.
Of course. Yeah. No, I mean, it's really hard. I think it's hard to measure. Let's say that there's so many things that are hard to measure. But in terms of nutrition, like if your kids are just only eating what they serve on, traditional kids menu, like the mac and cheese and pizza and all that, then that's, they want to be eating healthy fats, whole foods, balance.
Yes.
I mean, that's, the healthy fats are really what build brain development. So if your kids are eating, you're being very diligent, and you build the child's taste buds around 6 months. So if you start feeding them,
right? Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So if you start,
that comes up to you, that if the kids are, like, if they're failing, then the kids will only eat mac and cheese and cookies or whatever, right? You're failing. You're failing because you, that's the, really, that they're not the ones that are buying the food or preparing the food, and you're putting everything in their hands that go into their mouth. So it's your failure, and you have to get it that they are. It's a scorecard for them as much as for their child, right? So if you establish what that would be, what does failing look like? And then what would winning look like? Like really, or, transforming. What would be the thing that would be what would be the thing that would be evident at 3 years if you are, at the transforming level in nutrition with your 3-year-old?
Like how the food affects everything. It affects behavior, sleep, ability to learn and concentrate and focus, which are all like very, they could be acting out because they're on, they're not eating the right foods, or their ability to learn and think and focus, because focus at that level is a really big one. Then those are all an impact of food, really.
Yeah. And what would be like the protocol of a winning, transforming, with them nutritionally? Like if mac and cheese and cookies, mac, cheese, and cookies and apple juice are are failing, then what would be winning? Would be
a balance.
The opposite of those would
greens,
be
or eating lots of fats. And coconut oil and lean meats and fats and protein are big, and also just having a balanced diet of real whole foods, like not eating anything processed really. But fats they're particularly important for the young children because that's what helps with the brain development.
Okay.
So they're eating and wanting these foods, and I could name the different foods. And there's certain foods that are maybe are not as because some people might not eat it. Like bone marrow is a great one for brain development. I don't want to probably eat that, or liver. I don't want to eat that either. But those are extreme ones that are great. But all the vegetables and just nothing really processed if you can. But I know that's very hard to do, particularly people who are busy. And
I get it.
Yeah.
And then on the movement side, what would be what would be evidence that you are failing on the movement side at 3 years old?
Well, a lot of people don't realize, so they think, I want my kid to walk or crawl, and they kind of force the kid, like they put him in the bouncers and the swings and that helps entertain them. But what you really need to do is help them move naturally. You put them on the floor, they need to learn how to move and roll instead of on their own. But if the parent kind of forces them to, say they skip crawling because the parent's like, oh, walk, Johnny. And they're so proud, like, oh, my child is walking and they're only, 9 months old. But you don't want to force those things, because if the child does not go through it, that's what helps build the building blocks of the brain.
Yeah.
So if a child skips a milestone, or they don't crawl, or they don't, do some of these things, then in 4th grade, they could have some kind of learning disability that could show up because the brain did not form in the layers that it should have done earlier on. There's a lot of research based on that. So if you let them, you're not putting them in the bouncers too long, you're not putting them in the car seat, you let them, just giving them free movement, so that the brain, your physical movement helps develop the brain, essentially. That's what the early years, so that's essentially,
I love it. Okay, so that kind of thing. So where I'm going with this is to, I don't know if you've seen my Profit Activator scorecard that we have.
The 8 Profit Activators, yes.
Yeah, it has the 8 Profit Activators, and then the scorecard itself, we at profitactivatorscore.com, we have an online version where you can go through and pick the statement that matches where you are right now. And the rating system is a 1 through 12 rating system, but it's divided into 4 columns, right? So if you look at it that the way we do it with our the 8 mindsets, or the 8 profit activators, so selecting a single target market, in column 1 is failing on that, right? Like we just take anybody that shows up. We're not really, we cast as wide a net as possible, because any business is good business kind of thing, versus transforming in column 4 is that we have a very specific largest check client that we're focused on attracting, right? We've got a very specific target market, and then everywhere in between, right? So we kind of divide it so that each column has 3 numbers inside of it. So column 1 would be 1, 2, 3. Column 2 is 4, 5, 6. Column 3 is 7, 8, 9. And column 4 is 10, 11, 12. So you can be in column 1 to but close to column 2 kind of thing, like you're saying, I'm a column 1 plus, which would give yourself a 3. But what we have people do is rate where they are now, but where they want to be as their aspiration goal, right? So they may say, okay, I'm at a 3 now, but I want to be a 10 in this. So it helps people identify where they are and where the gap is, And so I look, as a diagnostic tool, it's a great conversation starter for us, because what I look for when I'm reading these scorecards is that I see people who are crystal clear on who they want to attract as a target audience. And then I look down at Profit Activator 5, which is delivering a dream come true result. And I look for people who are very high on that, who can get a result for people if they have people to work with, but then they are low on Profit Activator 2, 3, or 4, where they don't know how to generate leads or educate and motivate or convert those leads, right? So if I can take somebody who they know who they want to attract, and they get great results for them once they find them, but they can't generate leads or convert them, that's the kind of person where I can help them the best with that, And so what a scorecard like this may do is create, and you may find that there's, if you could find 3 other areas to get down to 8 total things, and some of them could be mindset ones, where the parents are, what's their mindset, that it would be good for you if people believe that they can make a difference in their 0 to 3-year-old, and that they're committed to giving their child every advantage that they can, versus somebody who thinks, we didn't have any of this stuff. We grew up fine. Kids are kids. Right. They're gonna figure it out. It's all just a bunch of fuss to try and overwhelm things. And that's it's good for you to know that the person who sounds more like the first person I described is a better fit for what you're trying to do. Right? They're buying into this.
Yeah, of course. It's probably an older parent, most likely. Older parent or sometimes the foreign parents are, a market.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because I think one of the best ads on television right now is the Loves campaigns for their diapers. I don't know whether you've seen it, but they basically, Pampers has the number 1 brand in the market, right? And so a new parent wants to have the best for their child, and so they're going to only settle for Pampers, or custom diapers or whatever. But the Loves campaign shows the juxtaposition between your first child and your next child, that it's like live and learn and then get loves. That's kind of, they're giving up. They're saying, we're not going to try and convince the parents who are hell bent on having only the very best for their child, that loves is just as good, kind of thing.
Right.
We admit, okay, go for it, live and learn, and then get loves. Right? We're the diapers for people who realize that the kids are pooping in these diapers. Right? It's not. They're pooping in them. So once you realize that it's good enough, then you realize that that's the right thing, right? But what we're appealing to are the Pampers parents, in a way, right? The ones who
the older
are
first-time parent, yeah.
Yes, the first-time parents who are, high IQ, who have, their you can picture them, who they are, right? That they want to give their kids an advantage. They think because they're smart and all this stuff that they can make a difference. That's who the audience is,
Right.
and knowing that helps a lot, right?
Right.
So that helps you identify kind of who the target audience is. But then if you get these other things like the whatever the other mindsets are here, if it's nutrition, movement, reading, math, music, and then there's a couple of other that are mindset things, that could be a really nice format for creating a community around.
Yeah.
That sounds like really.
There are people who aren't there's the Western Price Foundation. They have a community of people who are really into nutrition, and there's communities of people around that are interested in different some of these topics. Maybe not all of them, but that was really the homeschooling parent might be interesting to this because they're something like that, or but that's who is the groups that would be interested in something like this.
Mm-hmm. So that, when you start to kind of think of that, you have to realize, is there an opportunity to, create the audience and be, that the audience is the product that you're monetizing, or you're creating the things that are, available to the audience, and that's what you're monetizing.
Right.
Are you monetizing the access and endorsement, or stamp of approval kind of thing? That everybody kind of buys into this. That if is there a face to this brand? Is there somebody who is kind of the leader of it? Is it you, or is it?
Well, I'm the one doing it because I'm the mom of the two kids, and that's
right.
But I'm open to having. Are you talking about a board or something, or?
I don't know what the I don't know. I mean, is it? And it's fine if it's you, but somebody who is the leader of this movement. Somebody who's the
well, I'm doing it because I have the two kids. I'm interested in this information, so I'm if I'm talking to them anyway, I might as well make it available to other people, because they're people that I'd want to talk to anyway and have the questions for.
Right.
Because I have the two kids in that age range.
Yeah, fantastic. So when you look at that, then what's your aspiration for this as a business? I mean, what is it that? I mean, as your kids now, is this something is this going to be less appealing to you now, or in 5 years from now, as your kids are then going to be, older, and you're not in the midst of that 0 to 3 group? Right now, you've got toddlers, and that's interesting to you, right? Because it's your thing. Is this something that, long term, are you interested in the 0 to 3 age range for 10 years?
Yeah, I think it's because it's such an impactful time. It's just so, it's really the most impactful time you have. So I think it's really, I think it's fascinating, really.
Okay.
And there, things
so part of this, where you have the opportunity then to perhaps think long term, is to do some of the studies, or to uncover, or to be involved in, or to establish maybe some of the studies that you wish were available right now. So I'll give you an example, because I just launched a new podcast for real estate agents called Listing Agent Lifestyle, and I had a book that I've created around that lay out the 8 elements of the listing agent lifestyle. 5 of them are the business elements, which would be getting listings and multiplying your listings and getting referrals and converting leads and finding buyers. And then 3 are the lifestyle elements of daily joy, abundant time, and financial peace. And so those are the things that we stand for. Those are what the listing agent lifestyle is about, right? And we've got qualitative and quantitative ways to measure your current situation and your progress. And so I just wrapped up in September a 4-year case study where we monitored everything that happened with one agent in one marketplace running our Getting Listings program. And we were able to show that, from day one, September of 2013 to September of 2017, that he, with a $50,000 investment over that 4-year period, was able to yield $543,000. So a 11-to-1 ROI. And that's, so I've got all these case studies that are happening right now. We've got another one that we'll wrap up in January that we'll have all of the access to. So it would be a really valuable thing if you were able to say to people that this, if you started this case study right now in January of 2018, that 3 years from now, you were able to show that the kids who follow, or the parents who follow this whole protocol for 3 years, have these distinctly advantageous outcomes,
Mm-hmm.
That
So doing it
makes
with my
it
own kids, you mean?
Well, your kids are already kind of
Older.
They may be getting out of it, right? But did you document, and how long have you been doing this with your kids, and have you been able to document, or are you the example of this kind of thing? Are you the example? Are your kids 20 points higher than the average, or whatever? Are they in the higher IQ range than what would be expected? Are they nutritionally more advanced? Are their movement, their reading, their math, their music? I mean, at every level we measure things like the SATs and the things at the end of their schooling career, But what about their graduation into being 4,
Yeah.
That there's nothing. Are there standardized tests? And maybe you can create those,
Well, there are. I mean, you can, I talked to the Mensa person. You can actually take your, 2 or 3-year-old to a local psychologist, and they can do tests or different tests that they don't test anyone until over 10 years old, that you can take them someplace, and there are different tests that they can do for different age groups if you wanted to.
Oh, and that's what I'm saying is it's kind of a really interesting thing if you can show that this investment in your kids from 0 to 3 is going to pay off,
Yeah.
It's really, it's something that's got, if you imagine this 20 years from now, that when you look at the class, the baby class of 2018, that is now the freshman class at Stanford or at Harvard or wherever they're going, that if you've got this these long-term studies there, it's really valuable, But the only way to get those is to really set up the parameters and identify where it's going. And I'm sharing these things with you because before you get to the tactical, this is how we monetize it. I want to make sure that you have the foundational stuff, right? Like the big picture. This is what this is, and this is what the 20-year vision of this is. That becomes kind of the standard. Now, the good news is by choosing 0 to 3, you can have your first graduating class 3 years from now with a definitive kind of outcome, and it might be the first study that takes this level of comprehensiveness, that if you're creating these parents that want to have their child have that all this multifaceted approach to it, right? From not just zoned in on nutrition, like some parents, that's all they would focus on. Right. Others might be just focused on music, right? They want to create a music prodigy, but they're not realizing that movement and reading and nutrition also are connected to that outcome. Mm-hmm. If you create that sort of Renaissance baby in a way, right? That they're overall that's the thing. And you've already got a great name, right? Ingenious Baby is a good name for that, and that's going to be a great book.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Once I go with interviews. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I think that becomes then once you set up the parameters, so when we have for the listing agent lifestyle, this has been, I've been working on these puzzles for 30 years in the real estate world. That's what I started out in 1988 as a real estate agent. And so all of my marketing foundation, you say from 0 to 3, all my marketing foundation was created within a lens of real estate. And so all the things that I do, I still kind of filter through that, and I've had that through line through my whole career of being involved in the real estate world, in addition to the marketing world, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I've got when I think about those elements of the listing agent lifestyle, I've got, when we talk about getting listings, I've got the absolute best solution for that. In that our Getting Listings program is really to the point where they just point on a map to where they want to get listings, and we can handle everything else. We've got we know what postcards to mail, we know what to respond with, we know the newsletters to mail, and to get that ROI when people are ready to sell their house, that they'll call you. We've got an 11 to 1 return on investment, and we know if you've got listings right now that most people are squandering the opportunities that they have to get additional transactions. So we created a metric called their listing multiplier index, which shows, based historically on what they're doing right now, how many extra transactions they're getting every time they get a listing. And so we've been able to take people from a listing multiplier index of 1 to over 3 by focusing on the protocols and the stuff that we talk about, So when you look at it, where if you've got both the qualitative way to identify kind of the philosophically and principally where people are going with this, and then you've backed that up with, well, what would be the quantitative metric that would show that they're in better shape at 3 if they follow this nutritional protocol than otherwise? Like, are there blood markers? Are there things that would be different because you've done this than not? You know, like if you're saying, does it really matter? What difference does it make if they're eating, mac and cheese and Cheetos and Mountain Dew? You know, what difference does that make versus somebody eating vegetables and green juice and fruit? You know, how would that show up?
Yeah, that's kind of hard to define. You know, it's hard to do a study and compare somebody who's eating that with someone who isn't. But
yeah, but it would be interesting. So otherwise, it becomes there has to be some way to identify that. Listen, you're failing or you're winning here. You know, in this.
I mean, I could use past research. You know,
and it could absolutely.
It does. Yeah, and it doesn't have to just be me, but I could actually point to the research that people have done research on this already.
Right, and that's where it becomes that you're establishing the game and the rules of the game, which is what I'm doing with Listing Agent Lifestyle. I'm establishing the objectives and I have established the winning protocol right now is to follow my Getting Listings program that I've already created, right? Now, what I'm creating in the community is let's experiment and come up with even better outcomes, right? Like, what are you doing that moves that needle? If we all agree that the standardized metric for multiplying your listings is a listing multiplier index, and we establish the rules of how we establish it, how we calculate it, then you do whatever you do to get that outcome and document it. You know, we take the scientific approach to it, right? Using the scientific method that you've got to be able to, create a hypothesis, you set up the experiment, and then you're able to repeat the results. So yeah. So when you look at that, if you're getting all of these parents, it's like crowd sourcing in a way, right? If you're bringing in all these experts and parents that are doing their best to see what can actually what makes a difference. That's a pretty cool. That's a pretty cool thing, right? That becomes on its own something that's worth being a part of.
Yeah, sharing other people's experiences with me as well.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because then that can grow beyond you. It's not just
which I don't want it to be just about me.
That's what I mean. Yeah, you want it to grow that people are playing this game.
That's exactly
what I'm looking at. Is that I'm creating a community of people who are playing the game called Listing Agent Lifestyle and advancing their scores in all these 8 elements, and sharing what they're doing and trying to beat the best kind of thing,
Right. Have to get somehow a way to share their stories too, which maybe just interviewing them and they're doing.
Yeah. So all that, how are you monetizing now? Like what, or are you?
I'm not. I literally just started this, and I had a couple of ideas. I just wasn't sure the right way to go. I know it was not the smartest thing to do, but I was in it anyway, and I just wanted to talk to people anyway. So I thought I just literally just started it a couple of months ago.
So do you have experience with getting corporate sponsorship for things like this? Because, it's always
PR business, which I've done all kinds like pitching media, and we already had a story written about it too in the local paper, the website itself. But I definitely know how to approach that. I just wasn't sure that was the right the person that they want.
I think it might be because you're, especially right now, as you are trying to establish the actual outcomes that you can create. You can establish the interest in those outcomes and access to it. But I would take a media type of approach, like the way Martha Stewart, looked at, her category was living, and everything underneath that umbrella was what she was, bringing to people. And mostly it was all, based around her TV show, which brought the audience. So it was free for people. And you kind of like Oprah is another model of that, of that it's free for the audience, and then the corporations or other people who have a way to monetize within those. It almost becomes your 8 principles or your 8 things or your 5 things or whatever it is become the editorial guidelines for
exactly right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
And
that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, so all your stuff is around exposing people to the best thinkers, the best programs, the best products, the best stuff. So you're creating an audience of people who are interested in that, and then getting paid for access to the audience,
Right. But the problem is, I don't have the audience built yet, so no one's going to get on my back. I've been doing PR for years and having my own business doing that for several years. You need the audience before someone will pay you money. But I'm building the audience first, just through, it's going to take a couple of months, but I just started that like 2 weeks ago, really driving the YouTube and then Facebook I'll do next.
I think that what you may be right on time right now. Like you may be able to get some, if you did some, we're able to do some video content, which this would really kind of lend itself to. Facebook just. Oh, okay, great.
Video. All my videos is on my website. I have 10 videos that I've done. I have a 20-minute version for the website, a 5 to 7 minute version for YouTube, and then a 1-minute version for Facebook for each interview.
Okay, well, I think that you may, it would be good for you to look into Facebook Watch, because Facebook
Watch,
they just launched their version of YouTube, basically.
Oh, really?
Now. Yeah, so if you look on your Facebook app or on your homepage in Facebook, there's a, right at the bottom of your app, there's a little TV monitor, or a monitor with an arrow on it that is will take you to the interface for Facebook Watch, which is they're completely committed to this becoming the platform right now, and they're over-indexing on exposing long form shows that are. So if you have a regular establishment, that if the Ingenious Baby show is on once a week,
every single week. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that they and you set up a page within that environment, they will be very.
I've got an audience there, and I could get sponsored.
Yeah, they're excited.
So I need the audience first. So and I'll have to look into that because I know YouTube, you need to have 5 to 7 minute videos. My TV, I have it on a television station here locally that publishes on a local TV station here, about 20 minutes here. So I'd have to figure out.
Yeah, and I think that's what I think that you could publish the full thing on Facebook, because that's what they're looking for, longer form longer form content even, so just kind of dig into that. You're really early, and this is really an opportunity to kind of plant your flag here. And while it's really getting all the attention and getting the exposure, if you're early and there's not much parenting or baby development or childhood development content while people are searching for it, you could be established, that you're buying the you're buying up really great exposure on a early platform that's going to be big, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah.
So part of the other thing is to really maybe think about what, if you maybe think of the other way, like that's thinking from the top down, right? Like your audience is anybody with, newborns to 3-year-olds. That's kind of the zone. There's something to be said for establishing a local audience of this too, right? Like,
right.
when you look at it, that if you think just San Francisco or even just certain parts of San Francisco where you can really leverage any exposure budget that you have, is you can, put your show, but then you can promote and boost your posts or run ads to newborn parents with a certain income in within a mile or 2 mile or 5 mile radius of somewhere right in San Francisco or certain zip codes, that you could establish a community that way on a local basis with maybe some meetup groups, and you make it tangible as well. And then as you're documenting everything that's happening in San Francisco, that is a feeder for all of the content that you're creating to distribute to the rest of the world as well. Because you can't, with a limited budget, reach everybody who has newborn kids right now, right? Like how many kids are born every year? Do you know?
Oh gosh, I have no idea.
In the United States, I wonder that. It'd be interesting to know, but probably
so many, yeah.
4 million or something, or I don't know, but millions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, multiple millions of people every year. So at any given time, there might be, 12 to 20 million people just in the United States that are that potential audience. And then if you take it to the ones who are the Pampers parents, that, it's a really big, viable market, but you've got to bite off what you can chew kind of thing. If you were to think about creating a almost like a franchise prototype in a way, is what would happen if Ingenious Baby was only a Marin County based business? That if it was only for there, what are the things that people could be exposed to? What local businesses would be?
Yeah. I mean, it's running on that local television station here, and we were interviewing local, the Bay Area Discovery Museum, which is nationally known, but that was here in Marin, and a couple of, schools that are, good for early development. So we have a couple local people here that we're doing. They come into the studio to be filmed, and some I do on Skype.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you're going to meet some, to meet some of the parents who are going to become the, there might be some great contributors. If you start documenting, I call them content-testimonials, where you start documenting segments of the show based on things that you're doing with these parents that are committed to this, and it becomes a really great, exposure for not only the local service provider, but also then just in principle, the context of it for the national audience,
Right. So focusing on the local first before reaching out.
Yeah. I think that when you really look at it, 80% or more of the stuff that is going to be consumed in the pursuit of creating an ingenious baby is going to be consumed on a local basis, right? A lot of kids, there's not a lot of like kids that are, by the time people are having kids from 0 to 3, you're pretty much locally based, right? They're not vagabonding all over the world with 0 to 3-year-olds, you know?
Well, I mean, like, the information can be taken in any, no matter where you live.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Can be taken no matter where you live. Yeah.
Yeah, most of the information you can have the information, but if they're going to, like, if you get down, that there are certain, when it gets to movement and gets to some of the things that may be some protocols or whatever, some advanced things, that maybe there are services or maybe there are activities or things that are there, that maybe you think about what would an ingenious baby center look like, or a facility look like. What would that be? There's always thinking the polarities of it, right? Thinking what's the thing that's appealing nationally to everybody, and what are the things, if this was only a local business, that would make sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So that, I mean, time flies here. We've talked for an hour here.
So my main question was that I know I need to have like the area. I have a few things to clarify in terms of the outcome and the failing, but I guess so you're saying the route you would take to monetize this, to keep, so I can film it for free at the studio and all that, is all done for free.
I think you keep it free for the audience, but monetize the fact that you are building this audience, right? Because you haven't established a crystal clear one-to-one exchange that you can trade this outcome for this amount of money, right? So while you're establishing those, the information is valuable in that you're building that curious audience, the ones who want access to this information.
So we'll have to have some kind of audience accessible. Well, for the sponsorship. Okay.
But it's pretty cool. I mean, it's such a big, there's such a big opportunity there, It's just a matter of not getting overwhelmed by it and getting in the dirt with it, like really, that's why I really established kind of the local market as being able to say, what would you love to be able to say 3 years from now that you could point to that these kids are better than the average in these distinct ways, that you've got kind of overwhelming consensus on,
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, this is good. Okay. So, and then for local, you'd get like local people to sponsor this versus.
Yeah, exactly. Like who, and then, because then of course all the other things are, there's lots of other things. There's so many things that 0 to 3-year-olds are going to want to get involved in, There's lots of ways, lots of businesses that would love to have exposure to parents that are, that are growing ingenious babies.
Right.
And I think that's your thing. It's like getting the editorial guidelines and the style guide and what fits, what fits within this. Who are the, it's like, obviously if you're going down that path, it's not, brought to you by Oreos. That's not the right fit for what you're doing, right? No. That you've got to have that brand consciousness that this is what is the tone that we're setting here. And these are the types of businesses that would be the right fit for us.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So try the scorecard. Go do the profit activator score just to see. Yeah, so you get a sense of what we're talking about. But that'll be a good help for you inspirationally.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for your time. And
been fun.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, Kelly. Thank you. Where can people go to find this? What was the website? IngeniusBaby.com.
IngeniusBaby.com.
Okay, perfect. Because I want to keep an eye on this and see how things progress here.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Bye-bye. And there we have it. Another great episode. Now, we talked a lot about this idea of a scorecard as a way to unify or at least let people know where they stand in relation to the types of things that you're there to help them accomplish. So I recommended to Kelly, and I'll recommend to you to see what that looks like. Go to profitactivatorscore.com. You can try our scorecard. You'll see exactly how it works. It'll give you instant clarity on where you stand with how the 8 profit activators are either slowing or growing your business. And of course, if you'd like to continue the conversation here, you can go to morecheeselesswhiskers.com. You can download a copy of the More Cheese, Less Whiskers book. And if you'd like to be a guest, you can click on the Be a Guest link. That's it for this week, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.